John Early's comedy, musical, mockumentary, spectacular is now more than ever. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby. John, what was the most important thing for you to sort of get right with this special?
Well, it's just the kind of really tricky, I would say almost impossible task of filming a live show and trying to capture the magic of a live show. It was something I was so hesitant to do and I was really quite scared of because performing live is like it's one of my favorite things to do in the world, and it feels so sacred, and it feels like a secret thing I do, and a secret between me and the audience. And so I was scared that putting cameras on it would just ruin it or something. And so I don't know. The important thing for us to figure out was how to film it in a way that captured the liveness and the sweatiness. And so the the rock doc approach really helped with that. It made it all feel more gritty, and it made it feel as gritty and as exciting as it did in real life.
Yeah, and by adding that rock doc element, that sort of breaks it up, and we've got these sort of segments throughout the special. I'm assuming the live audience don't see those scenes, or do they?
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't.
So that means like sort of the experience of the viewers in there and a TV viewer, or the audience in there and the TV viewer, is a different experience because it's framed differently for TV. So
Well, you're brilliant because yes, no one thinks about this. I mean, I thought we thought a lot about that. We had to very quickly, when you're looking at the footage, as beautiful as it was, and as exciting as it felt, like we really you there just are certain things that only work in the room, and we had to kind of embrace, like, okay, that was a live show and God bless it, moving on. Now we have to make a film, and I can't, and I really had to not be precious about certain things that were in the live show that were very dear to me. Like, there were lots of stuff that was cut, and like, but I had to be like, okay, that's over. The audience received that, and I'm done performing that. And now we have to make like a proper film, which is why we also turned to those kind of rockumentaries.
do you think it changes the way we see the live performance aspects, having that, like seeing that part of your character and the story play out and how it fits in there?
Yes, well, I think it's probably, it's probably a little confusing in some ways because in the backstage sketches, I'm like kind of there's a persona at play. There's a kind of the diva, the airhead diva, kind of psycho character that I play backstage, who's like fainting for attention and starving himself for attention. But and then on stage, the person on stage is as close as you can get to who I actually am in my real life in any of my work. I mean, the person I am on stage is like trying to keep the party going, and I think there's like a warmth to who I am on stage that probably doesn't match the kind of psycho quality backstage. So I was a little worried about that, but I also trusted the viewer to like understand the different kind of layers of the persona and to be able to just kind of go with it. But I do think the film aspect of it changes too, is like because you keep entering into the live performance and not like just watching it all in one go. I do think it creates this kind of feeling of like, oh, I wish I had been there. Like, what else did he do? Like you're like peeking into it instead of just receiving it all.
So much of like comedy specials, you usually like you just see the set and it's wonderful, but like by having that behind the scenes look at it, you sort of, it gives a whole nother sort of like dimension to it. So it's just really
Yeah.
fun, and like, you sort of like start to go, oh, this is his life behind the show and what like
Yeah.
yeah.
And
um
and I just have that band, they're up there on stage with me the time, and like, I felt like if I were watching this, I would develop a crush or six on the different band members and like I would want some kind of backstage sketches to fill them out a little bit more in my imagination. So that was my gesture to the viewers at home who have their own kind of form of Beatlemania, for those boys.
Yeah. And also like talking about the band, so you've got a band behind you, you go in to sing songs and covers and things throughout the special. Like often like a comedian will like, go around and practice their sets and work on bit and refine it. How does that all work when you a band is such a big part of the show and performance?
Well, it's a little bit of a risk, you know. It's you can't I don't have the money to pay for like a million shows with a full band and a week of rehearsals. I mean, if I had my way, they would be on tour with me and we'd have like a studio space where we work on everything and perfect it before the taping. But I think part of why it all felt so exciting is because we were kind of like just coming together right before the taping to finish those songs and and it's a whole other energy when you're performing with like six people behind you. Now thankfully I did on the tour go with Hess, the keyboard player, and so I at least had him and we did the songs together and stuff. But yeah, it's a whole other vibe, but I wouldn't have it any other way because it's uh, you know, part of why I never wanted to do a stand-up special is just the idea of just being alone up there. It's terrifying
Yeah.
and it's lonely. And so it's nice to have the full band just kind of in your corner and you have something to react off of. And it's so much more fun that way.
Yeah, did something like since it's not something you got to tour with the whole band and everything, was there like anything that surprised you on stage as you were seeing the audience respond to those moments?
Um, anything that's, I mean, I always just love the things that make the band laugh.
Hmm.
Uh, that's always really fun for me because they've heard the jokes before. Like they absolutely have every right to be bored out of their minds and so sick of me. But it's really sweet to me when I can make them break. It's like almost more important to me than making the audience laugh. Because the audience, is so great and I trust them and they've paid to see a big show. But if I can make the kind of my long suffering band members laugh, then I know, you know, I'm in a good place.
Yeah. Like how do you think music and comedy serve each other?
Well, for me particularly, I like my shows to feel like a party, you know. That's always been the goal for me is to make I want people to feel like they can dance and I want it to feel a little loosey-goosey and so the music really helps that for me. It really kind of lubricates the room and makes things a little more vibey. Um but I also what was revelatory for me about this particular process, because I've been playing with this band for like 12 years now, but this particular show was the first time I ever did the underscoring to the stand up into that Neil Young song. and
Mm,
and the underscoring really it changed the way I approach stand up. It helped me act the stand up where
mm,
normally like stand up the whole kind of illusion of stand up is that you're trying to act like you're coming up with these things in real time. You know, you're saying these things kind of conversationally and you're like you're looking up and you're grabbing the thought from your memory. You know, it's like you're trying to make the audience feel like you're at dinner with them. With the piano underneath it, I felt like there was all the emotion that is like embedded in the stand up, all the despair that's in my kind of cultural critique
mhm,
got to come out like because there was like sad piano underneath it and it made my connection with the audience so much more specific. Instead of me just kind of chatting with them, it became about me like looking them in the eye and being like, this is hell, we live in hell, and like, and so that was huge for me. And after the special I was like, oh my God, like I want it all to be underscored. It's quite thrilling, actually. It's what cabaret artists figured out so long ago.
mm.
So I love having the music underneath the stand up. I don't know how I'll ever go back.
Did you learn anything about yourself from this special and from the performance?
Well, what was really exciting for me about the special was just kind of for the first time giving people access to who I am on stage, which is very different from the characters I write for myself the characters I write for myself are usually kind of narcissistic, psycho baby monsters. You know what I mean? And so, that's what I like to play. You know, and but the who I am on stage and stand up is a bit more friendly and warm, and so it was really great for me to do this special and just kind of be myself a little bit more, and as much as one can be when there's a camera on them.
Yeah.
But like it felt, I guess I just learned like, oh, it's okay to do that. You're
Mm.
allowed to kind of let people in and let the world see who you are socially, where I've always almost found that kind of unbecoming or something, or like excessive, or like, you know, I don't know. I've always found it a little like ugh. And so it was nice to be like, this is okay. This is safe, you know.
Is there what do you love about comedy and performance?
Just this is such a obvious answer probably, but I think it genuinely is like the connection with the audience. It's not, it changes every single night because the audience is different every single night. And so you're not alone up there. Even if you are technically alone on stage, there is this like, you are always, even if you're so bored with your material, you're dreading doing another show, or you're exhausted, the second you get up there, you're kind of like beyond your control, sucked into this dynamic with the audience, and you're like responding to this thing that's changing and is new in every moment. And so it's like there's just an immediacy to it that is so thrilling. And it was very, very moving for me on this particular tour to feel that my kind of cranky, somewhat cranky observations about contemporary life were like, people were really laughing, and people like, I was performing this, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about is about like kind of like a lot of kind of it's about the internet and about tech stuff, and like I was performing in these like tech centers of the world, like Seattle and and like Austin, and it was really thrilling to hear. Like, I performed in New York and LA so much, and it was so great to go to these other cities and feel people being kind of like shocked by what I was saying. Not that I think it's particularly subversive or anything, but like, but it was like they were like kind of enjoying being roasted, and like I felt like I was kind of giving people permission to like laugh at themselves and in the world and about the world that we live in, and like that was very moving to me, and very thrilling.
Yeah, I wonder if like and for TV viewers that rockumentary scenes shows that you're prepared to roast yourself a little bit, and then like
Yeah,
like there's that nice two-way like thing there. So that's really yeah.
exactly. No, I think that's your job as a comedian, is like to be the fool ultimately, and to make fun of yourself so that you have permission to ruthlessly make fun of other
Yeah.
people.
Did you have a favorite actually what makes something funny for you?
Hmm. God, I don't know. I mean, I would, I like all the people that I love, all my biggest kind of comedy heroes they tend to be more, it's less about jokes, as I'm sure you can tell in my act, and more about behavior. It's more about like mimicking behavior. I mean, it's so general, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I find like little I find eye movement to be funny. I find people's kind of like whatever's going on internally not matching what they're trying to show the world externally. That is funny to me.
Mm,
So someone pretending to be confident, but you see there in their eyes that they're nervous. I think that's probably the what
yeah.
makes me laugh the most.
Yeah, like the bit in the special where you talk about the bowling and how people like
Exactly,
when they
exactly.
when they go into bowl and how they're having to contain things and how other people are seeing
Yes,
them after they've made
yes, which is like it's ripped from the headlines of my own life of being like 35 and bowling and feeling like a kid and wanting to like jump up and down for joy when I get a strike, but feeling so that's socially unacceptable.
yeah. What was for you maybe one of the funniest bits? Like, or the thing that you felt was particularly funny in the special?
In the special,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I love when we're trying to find the key for the Britney song and we say Bush did 9/11. That's a little Easter egg in there that I really cracks me up. I just can't believe I never got any pushback on that, and it really makes me laugh. And I just love that the whole band is making that chord. Bush did
Yeah.
9/11.
Oh,
I love that. I really love, I mean, I already said this, but there's something so funny to me about like withholding. I mean, it's a very serious issue, I want to say, and but on an acting level, I love the sketch where I'm not eating to kind of get attention from my bandmates. It's just there's something I love being woozy is a favorite
mm,
comedic sweet spot for me. Like I love fainting.
mm,
So that's another part I love.
Oh, that's great. And what's something that stayed with you from that performance and tour?
Really the Neil Young song, the all the material with the piano underneath going up into the Neil Young. That was the first time I ever did anything like that. Mostly I've just been a little kind of here's some stand up, here's a song, and it's all very compartmentalized, but that's the first time it's been
Mm,
fused together and it felt like when we were editing the special, my beautiful directors, Leah and Emily, they were kind of casually talking about that section and they were like, "Yeah, when you do the sermon." And I was like, "What?" I never thought of it like that, but like both my parents are ministers, like they're ordained Presbyterian and Church of Christ ministers,
yeah.
and or sorry, Disciples of Christ. Oh no, I don't want to misdenominate my mom. um, but they it was very like I had never thought about what I was doing as being like a sermon or and when they said that, I was like, oh my God, like I'm like making peace with my parents in a beautiful way. Not
Oh,
that there was never any, conflict really to bridge at all. But anyway, there was something very special about that section to me.
yeah. Did your parents after because they were there, I believe?
Yes. Yes.
Did they think of it a bit like like could they make those connections too? Like
I don't know. I mean, I think they did. I think I did have a conversation with my mom about that part. My parents are so sweet and so supportive and they really are my biggest fans and they've seen me do these shows for years and and I've tortured them under the spotlight for years and they're so game. But I think that my mom was very kind of aware of those connections and was very moved by that section, I think.
yeah, yeah. No, there's the influence the church has had in your life. Seeing it to now.
And that's the thing. I thought I was running away from it,
Yeah.
and they're on stage being like, Lord, please,
John, thanks so much for talking with us today. You all the best of luck for the Emmy Awards that are coming up.
you.
Special now more than ever. And people can go to goldderby.com to follow the Emmy Award races. And John, just thanks so much for the time. This was such a great chat.
Thank you for watching and caring and talking to me.
No worries at all.